Okay, example 3, determine trigonometric ratios. Suppose theta is an angle in standard position with terminal arm in quadrant 3 and cos theta is equal to negative 3 over 4. What are the exact values of sine theta and tan theta? Now, exact values in this question doesn't mean that you need to refer to your special triangles. What it means is if you do get one value in your work that's a square root, you don't work it out as a decimal, you leave it as a radical. Okay, so our first step is to draw theta in standard position. Okay, we know it's a third quadrant angle. Okay, so here is our initial arm, and here is our terminal arm in the third quadrant. Give our angle direction. Okay, and recall that your reference angle is between the x-axis and the terminal arm. Okay, now we do know that cos of theta is negative 3 over 4, so we are going to get some information from there. So in our second step, we want to determine what that is. Okay, so we know that our formula to determine cos of theta is x over r. So if cos of theta is equal to negative 3 over 4, then we do know what x is and we do know what r is. Okay? Now remember that r is always going to be positive. Okay, so this negative sign on your cos theta then is going to belong to the 3, not the 4. Okay? So we know that x is equal to negative 3 then, and that r is equal to 4. Okay, now because we do want to find sine theta and tan theta, and we know that their ratios are y over r and y over x respectively, then we need to find out what y is. So our third step is to determine y. And what we want to do is keep in mind that y is in the third quadrant, okay, which means that it has to have a negative sign. Okay, so let's pull out our Pythagorean theorem again using x, y, and r. So we would have that x squared plus y squared equals r squared. We can substitute in negative 3 for x and 4 for r, so that gives us 9 plus y squared equals 16. And so y squared is equal to 7, and y then is equal to plus or minus the square root of 7. But we are going to choose negative root 7 because we know that y is negative in the third quadrant. Okay, so therefore y equals negative square root of 7. Okay, next we are going to draw our reference triangle. Okay, so bring a line perpendicular from your terminal arm up to the x-axis. We know that x is negative 3, and we know that y is negative square root of 7, and we know that r is 4. Okay, so why don't we just write that down here. We know that x is negative 3, y is negative root 7, and r equals 4. Okay, and so the next thing that we can do then is to determine sine theta and tan theta. Okay, so we know that sine of theta is y over r. Okay, so sine of theta then becomes negative square root of 7 over 4. And we know that tan of theta is y over x. And so tan of theta is going to be equal to negative root of 7 over negative 3. And so we know that tan of theta is equal to the positive square root of 7 over positive 3, because a negative divided by negative is a positive. Okay, so just to revisit what we mean by exact values on this in this question, if you take a look at your sine and tangent, we have negative root 7, okay, or positive root 7 for tan of theta. But what exact value means is that we don't want to work those out as decimals. We need to leave it as a radical. That's what makes it exact. Okay, and that ends our discussion for example 3.